And we're back for another, obviously, Fight Talk live chat. I'm joined by, as I would like to say as always, but it's not as always, at least for these live chats. It's once in a blue moon, although it's 2 times in a week because we haven't been in studio for a while. If it's your first time to this live chat, this is obviously Fight Talk. I'm your host, Rob. And joining me today is Noel, who's my co-host on the main show, which usually comes out today, but unfortunately, as I said, we're not in studio this week. We'll be back next week, so we're going to do probably 2 live chats this week. But Noel, what's the crack? How are you?
I'm not bad. You just told me to retweet and then you go live. So yeah. I'm just in the process of retweeting, and at my age, I cannot multitask. So you said you were happy days. I'm back. I'm on holidays, so still away, not in work. So I'm still in the son's bedroom, although angled differently this week to make it try and look less 13-year-oldish.
I wish I did this. I didn't do it on purpose, but that's kind of like me when I tried to start this show. I tried to multitask multiple things. Like there's like loads of stuff you need to press here. I can't explain it. It's very technical, and I keep giving myself more work with all these graphics and stuff. It's not good. As I said, this is a live chat. So if you have seen any other live chats before, like the MMA fighting live chat, similar setup. We take your questions, we talk about them, and we also have some things that we want to talk about, and we'll get to those. Some of the things that I've wrote down here, Noel, and you might have a few things in your mind, and obviously all the questions that come in, we'll talk about them. Ortega versus Max Holloway was announced, but Ortega came out, I think it was yesterday, and said that it's not officially done, but it's looking like it's going to be announced for UFC 231. Other news was that there was a big card on the weekend. Well, I wouldn't say big card, but there was a card on the weekend with at least a big main event where Justin Gaethje and Vick.
KSI and Logan, no?
Oh, KSI and Logan. Yeah, how did I forget about that one? The big time. We can talk about that if you want. I didn't see it. But Justin Gaethje got a win over James Vick. Jake Ellenberger retired actually in that card. Speaking of Logan Paul and KSI, Brendan Schaub was in the news today talking about how apparently they're better promoters than the UFC because of the numbers they done. We can talk about that. And another big one, Tyron Woodley said that he won't fight Kamaru Usman if Darren Till falls out of the fight for whatever reason at UFC 228. And we actually spoke about this last week, not me and you, but me and Jason.
Jason, that guy from MMA Point.
That guy from MMA Point. We talked about it as well, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this whole replacement thing. But I think we'll start with the card from the weekend, and again, if there's any questions about the card or any comments, we'll call them out. But what's your thoughts on the main event? Not Jake Ellenberger, Justin Gaethje defeated James Vick.
Yeah, it's something we spoke about when we were talking about it. We were saying that we have a habit of underestimating James Vick, and he's the toughness of Gaethje, will that come in? And I sort of said I think he'll put him under pressure, and the relentless coming forward from Justin Gaethje, and just the style of how he fights will win the fight. Didn't turn out really that way. He got it done and won with the tall man's answer. The answer to any tall man is that big looping right hand. So he set it up beautifully with the left, and that right hand was a thing of beauty. And I actually liked Gaethje's reaction in the cage. After I thought, he says, I take everything personal leading up to a fight. Do you know what I mean? So everything you said about me, you've just paid for. I sort of like that about Gaethje. Yeah. Big win from him. Didn't really do anything different, is in what we thought maybe he might incorporate a little bit of wrestling. We thought he might do a few things differently. Didn't look like he was doing that. It looked like he was ready to stand and trade and fight like Justin Gaethje. I thought Vick was looking to where the body was landing big kicks to the body early, but I just think Gaethje pressure put Vick on his back foot from the bell, and a beautiful right hand to finish the fight. Absolutely thing of beauty.
Yeah, one of the things that people were talking about, and even he was talking about, I think in his interview with Ariel Helwani this week, was that was Justin Gaethje more patient in this fight? I think it's hard to say because of how short it was. Like Justin Gaethje generally kind of fights like that. He comes in, he still looked aggressive. It's not like he looked reserved. But like in your mind, did we see a different Justin Gaethje in there, or was it just that he got it done early, so we kind of didn't really see how it would have played out?
Yeah, it's more so the latter. Yeah, I think it's we didn't get to see much. I can't remember what the time was on the finish. Was it? I can't remember. I'm sure it was
exactly. It was early.
Well, yeah, it was early, 1:27. So we didn't get to see much of it. You know what I mean? There's been fights. One springs to mind is Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis, where we didn't even see a punch thrown in the opening stanza of the fight. You could argue the whole fight, but Yeah, I thought Vick was trying to keep it at kickboxing range, but you could say that Vick wanted to stay all the way out, and Gaethje just closed him down. Obviously, Vick had it was like a ridiculous reach he had, wasn't it? 6 or 7 inches reach advantage, I think. So Gaethje had to get it all the way in to land it. And like I said, it's the tool to take out the tall man is the big right hand coming over, because a lot of tall fighters tend to, when they're backing up, they back up tall and the chin exposed. But yeah, I don't think. I understand what Hawani's saying. It wasn't like guns blazing, here we go. The second the fight started, it would have gone that way. Yeah, I think so, because I think Justin Gaethje felt that Vick would break by putting so much pressure on him, and it just so happened that it's not that he got broke. He just hit him on the off switch, and it was beautiful. It was an absolutely beautiful finish.
Yeah. Before we talk a bit more about that, if you can just give this video a like if you're in the chat right now, and give it a share as well. If you want to share it on Reddit, there's a guy called Halal Champion. I think he does be in the chat, but his name is Halal Champion on Reddit, so I'm giving you a shout out because I think he shared the show a couple of times when I mentioned it on Reddit. So if you can do that, that'd be brilliant. And also subscribe to us on all the channels like YouTube and all that. Something funny happened actually. This week we got a message or a comment on one of the videos that one of our videos was put onto a different channel, just a random 13-minute video of me and Jason talking about Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov with like 30,000 views, I think, at this point. What the hell? What's that all about?
That's a compliment, isn't it? That they took your ramblings and Jason's ramblings and decided to make a video, and 30,000 people tuned in to see it and didn't tune in to watch it live. So that's a bit disheartening. But no, I listened back to the show. I thought it was excellent. I thought some of the points you made were good, and like it makes sense. It's something we've always spoke about doing, is putting like little snippets like that. But again, just the workload involved in it is something time consuming wise again. Yeah,
so that's the plan. 30,000 viewers on this live stream. Let's see if we can do it, lads. Come on, get them in.
We only need 2,989 more to go.
Great math skills there, man. Raphael Schaefer's in the chat. I'm not going to try say that, but he said my name in Portuguese, I think. Keenry, I guess, Kieran. Anyone else going to Vegas for UFC 229? This is actually, I didn't say it, this is the top of the show. The UFC 229 main card was announced, or at least the proposed main card at the moment. I want to talk about that. Get your thoughts on that. But Noel, are you going over to UFC 229?
No.
Would you like to?
No. I was only. Do you know what? Right? I was only talking about this yesterday, and I was saying, like, you remember Dana White used to fling the dead horse of, there's nothing like attending a UFC event. Remember, there's nothing more great than I'm lucky enough that I commentate and I ring announce on fight shows, and some of them have been big shows in big venues and stuff like that. And I have a great seat. I can literally reach out and touch the cage. But when it still hits the mat, you still go.
Yeah, just look at the screen. Yeah.
You look at the screen. Now it's different. When you're in commentary, you have a monitor in front of you. So when you're actually calling the fight, when it's happening in front of you, you're watching the fights. But when it goes out the far side of the cage, you end up looking at the monitor. The way I have a big screen here in front of me, and you actually commentate looking at the monitor. And then if it gets back up, you do it. So that's fine. That's perfect. But cheapest ticket for this is $250, yeah, and it's up in like nosebleed land. So realistically, for me, a UFC event, I've attended UFC events. I've attended BAMA, I've attended Bellator, KSW. I think you're more so paying for the atmosphere.
Yes.
It's like, another analogy, going watching football. I hate going watching football in the pub because someone starts talking to you and you're trying to watch the match, so you don't really see the game. You might say I'm very unsociable, but there's no better seat than your couch at home watching the live broadcast. You don't miss anything. Well, if you're at a fight and let's say somebody's trying to set up some sort of sweep or whatever they're trying to set up, some sort of submission or whatever it is, you're not going to see it unless you happen to be looking at the big screen, especially if you're in the nosebleeds. So it's a long-winded answer, but like, it's weird as an MMA fan because you just support it. Like, I love going to local shows and stuff like that and being, because, you know, you're so close to the cage. But for me, the type of money that it's going to cost to go to Las Vegas, you're basically paying for the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, if money wasn't an issue and work wasn't an issue and getting away wasn't an issue, yeah, by all means, I'd love to go. But I honestly don't think there's a better seat than watching a UFC event than sat at home with a bag full of cider.
You could have just said no.
Yeah, I did say no, and then you sort of gave me the look of.
Yeah, here's why. I'll
details.
tell you the whole. Rafael Schaefer. I see Noel as a man of culture. with a can.
Well, Javier, you've got me down to a T.
Yeah. Moyes audio said Vic should move up to 170, and he also said they steal content and make AdSense money. And then he also said, i.e. not fair use of your IP. I agree with that. Honestly, I don't mind people using it. Again, it's one of those weird compliments of people, oh, this is good, I'm going to repost this and try and make some money off it. They obviously see some value. But, you know, it still is stealing, so it's a bit weird. But yeah, Vic should move up to 170. Do you agree with that?
It's weird because Vic was on like a 10-fight win streak or something, wasn't he? It was something insane like that, wasn't it?
I don't think it was that big, but yeah, it was. He was on a streak, yeah. He
was on an absolute streak, so it's always weird when someone has a, like, the shot that landed against Gaethje. Sorry, he wasn't. He was on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 win streak. He had 10 wins in the UFC.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's like. He's a big guy, like he's 6'3", so 155 probably difficult, yeah, you know. But I don't think he's ever had issues. Nothing. I don't recall Vic missing weight hugely, or you know, he doesn't seem to have an issue dropping to 155. Now we've seen examples like RDA, you know, he had an upsurge when he moved up. Do you know what I mean? Less weight cut, stuff like that. But for me, like, if you take away Saturday night, and I know that's easy to say, hindsight and all that. You take away Saturday night, would you be saying he should step up to 170? I don't think so. No. I think he's been doing well, and he got himself he was making himself a little bit of a contender at 170. So, you know, you get that whole problem of moving up to 170. His advantage of being 6'3", having a long reach. He's going to come up against killers. Cutting down, do you know what I mean? Again, like, you know, we only have to look at the title fight coming up, you know what I mean? 205 pound gorilla, do you know what I mean? Cutting down, like, so interesting in that sense. But for me, no, I don't think he needs to. I don't think he needs to jump up at all. I just think he got caught by a perfect shot on Saturday night, an absolute belter.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you kind of have to say that. Like, if he won, would we be talking about going up to 170? No. He seems like a huge guy. I don't know how he doesn't struggle if he doesn't, because obviously we never really heard James Vick struggling with weight. It seems like he gets down to that weight pretty easily. I know a lot of people said that he looked a little bit soft coming into this fight around the old belly region. He did actually didn't look as leaned out as he normally would. I don't know what that means. I'm not really saying that's a reason why he should move anywhere. I'm just saying in terms of his performance, I'm not sure if it was a bad weight cut or something. But there's some more people in the chat and there's some more people on the live stream now. It was 7-9. We almost got to that 3,000 we were looking for. Close. Yeah. No cigar. MMA Buds, what's up, sickos? What's up, man? Kia Rain, will Dubs beat Tyrone? I know you're a big GAA fan, Noel. Will the Dubs beat Tyrone?
Yes.
I agree.
See, I'm not the biggest GAA fan, but I'll always watch the Dubs when they're on. Do you know what I mean?
Now that's an atmosphere I'd pay for.
Yeah,
Dubs and Croker.
GAA. I have a winner's medal from Crow Park back in my schoolboy days. Oh. But there you go now.
Goalkeeper.
For a man who doesn't play, goalkeeper. Best of business. Hands, unbelievable. But those would be Tyrone, Dublin. Tyrone has always been. I remember Tyrone. How was that blonde-headed fucker? I want to say his name was Mulligan. Yeah. He was an awful bastard. He was. But yeah, those would be them. I agree with Ryan there as well, saying that Gaethje punch would have knocked down a silverback gorilla. Perfect spot Tyrone with bad intentions. 100% agree with that. That would be my 1 minute breakdown, Robin Black style. Literally just show the setup, show the movement, show the shot. He threw it beforehand and just missed. And I was like, if he throws that again and lands, it's night and boom, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, Seismic Shock also said that Vic forgets to keep his hands up and was perfect for Gaethje's overhand. You can lean over the ropes.
Just backing up.
That's very, very true. Yeah. That's one of the reasons, and if you go back and watch some of our prediction videos for James Vick fights, that's one of the things we always said. He leaves his hands up and he seemed to not correct it, but at least he seemed to have better head movement over his last few fights. But maybe head movement. But maybe he just wasn't fighting the kind of competition that could exploit his lack of head movement and his lack of keeping his hands up at his face, I guess.
Yeah. Hands up. Good technical breakdown. His hands up at his face.
Yeah, pretty much. Ryan Mulligan, Vick is fine at 155. People who think he's chinny are jumping the gun. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think he's chinny. That's one knockout from the demonstrable power puncher that we've seen in the past. Like Gaethje definitely hits hard. We've seen in the past. He's knocked loads of people out. So yeah, I don't know what you think, but I don't think he's chinny.
No, I don't think he's chinny. I honestly think if that shot lands on any 55er's chin, they're going out.
Yeah, although if he keeps fighting the way he fights, he probably could become chinny, because the way he fights is a bit insane at times.
What did you think of the call, mate? Michael Johnson, Andre Philly, touchy-feely?
I thought it was close enough. I thought the decision was right. Michael Johnson looked good. He's looked good at 145 his 2 fights. Obviously, he had that fight against Darren Elkins, who's always tough at later rounds, but I thought he looked good. He does look a little bit thin and frail at featherweight, I think, but it doesn't seem to affect his gas tank or anything like that, so I guess he's fine. But I thought it was a good performance by Michael Johnson. You? This
is the thing that we were talking about with Vick going up and stuff. Johnson obviously gone down. How much does it deplete him and stuff? I thought Philly could have got it done in round 2, wasn't it? He had the back, and he could have got a finish there, I thought. But good defence by Johnson. But yeah, badly needed win. I sort of built this card. Remember last week I was saying this is almost a card of badly need a win card. And it seemed to be that way. But yeah, big win from Michael Johnson. I did say last week as well, I never really rated him. I don't see him pushing for the 45 belt.
No, but I think he's kind of an interesting, not contender. Well, contender technically, but not top contender in that division.
Gatekeeper, I believe, is the word you're looking for. Gatekeeper.
I guess so. The MMA buds said UFC should axe the 170 division, create 165 and 175 for fighter safety, and one more real division, not interim, plus exciting fights. Gunner versus any big with 155er. Do you agree that the UFC should create these 2 new divisions, get rid of 170? And do you think that would help in, I suppose, stopping people from cutting so much weight?
I've said this a good few times on the show when we talk about this. I don't think it's going to stop people cutting weight. I think if anything, it's going to create people cutting more weight. You're going to see lads who are lads or women. It depends on if they bring in different weights of women's, but it's predominantly at the men's weights they're talking. I just think that if they start adding new weights, you're going to get guys who are willing to make that extra cut as well. By hook or by crook, that's what they're going to do. I think it should be, is it California that if you miss weight you have to fight up or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's if your fight day weight is a certain percentage above, they'll basically recommend that you go up in weight, and I don't think they'll license it in California.
Yeah,
if that's the case, but other commissions will. So.
Well, you see, I still have a bit of a problem with that as well, because my problem with that would be is that you're going to get people who make weight and still sort of maintain some sort of cut, or they don't rehydrate and refulfill basically, so they know they have to stay a certain percentage, so technically they're going into a fight still cutting. So I don't know, weight cutting, it's such, like we could honestly, like, I'd love, it's something we spoke about, like I think we spoke with Luke Thomas about it. I think we spoke about Chuck Mindenhall about weight cutting as well. We also had Glenn Ellis on me talking about it as well. Glenn Ellis is an advanced paramedic. I said it easy that time, Rob. Look. Yeah. But we Glenn on talking about weight cuts as well, and it's just it's something, isn't it? That it's like you're always going to, like, you think about, like, Anthony Rumble Johnson used to try and cut that much weight, you know what I mean? When you look at what Rumble trying to make that weight, people talking about Darren Till, will the fight go ahead if he cuts? I just think as long as there's weight classes, you're always going to find fighters who are willing to cut to get to the lowest weight class they can make.
So you're saying no weight classes, open weight?
No, you're saying I'll get rid of 170 and bring in 65.
65 and 75, like, yeah. So I suppose
what happens to the champion at 70?
Don't know. If he goes down, give him that belt. If he goes up, give him that belt. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. I don't know. Raphael Schaefer said, I'm not saying that because of the Gaethje fight. He's just genuinely a very big 155er. Don't know if he's ever seen him being the smaller one. Yeah, so yeah, I get that as well. He is huge. So if his cut is tough, maybe a new weight class could do well for him, but I'm not sure if he'll do better at a different weight class. I'm not sure if that's the issues that he's having. I think it's more of a skill issue than anything. Yeah. I guess that's an agreement.
Yeah.
Raphael Schaefer also said, agreed, that's where it's been at. 165 will be a great division too. I do agree that 165, like the guys who could fit into that 165 division and do well, it would be very entertaining. Like Gunny would certainly be 165, 100%.
I agree, but you know, it's like, again, you'll know if you've ever listened to me, I tend to do football stuff. For years it was talked about doing, you know, a European league, not like a Champions League, as in abolish the Premier League and, you know, have like the top clubs in England against the top clubs in Italy, Spain, Germany, blah, blah, and they're all played in a league format. So it still is a league. Not like the Champions League every other week. It's every weekend you play, and that was always talked about like that. And it's some way, this is the idea. I don't know how I'm getting there, but this is the idea with the weight classes. It's almost like we're creating weight classes to suit certain people. I think if it's brought in, it has to be brought in correctly, and fighters can't be fluctuating on, fight 165, this one 175 next. You know what I mean? I think there needs to be some sort of, like, it's almost like the new rules set. You know what I mean? You're watching the new rules now, and they have to tell you, New York has adopted the new MMA. And you're, all right, grand, yeah. And then you're watching it, and they don't say it, and a knee or something lands, or what, a kick like the kick at the weekend there, the new grounded opponent, and everyone's like, oh man, that's illegal. You're like, no, it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it needs to be brought across the board. Like, I'm for it in some ways, but if it's only to suit a certain amount of fighters, no. Like,
yeah, no, I get that. Ryan Mulligan said, feels like titles lose a considerable amount of merit if you add weight classes. Fighters need to be smart and responsible about what they can safely do. I completely agree with both of them. I think adding weight classes, as you said, just for the sake of adding weight classes is wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's wrong if you reevaluate what you have and say, okay, this probably isn't the best way to have our weight classes, and let's add these ones, remove this one. Like, I think in a way it can make sense to do 165 and 175 and then 185. There's not as big of a jump then. And I think somebody said it there as well, that there's like a huge percentage of fighters who are in that 170, I say 180 to 155 weight class. So like there is enough fighters to be there. I think like if you're looking at, say, cruiserweight for the heavyweight, so you have like that kind of lower heavyweight division. I agree with that in a way as well, but then it also really dilutes the heavyweight division, which is already diluted anyway. It's just not that good. But I think, you know, if you're creating another weight class around that 170, 155, 185 section, and just one more, remove one, I don't have a huge problem with it if they think that's the right move, not just to satisfy certain fighters. I agree with that one.
Yeah, it's we're sort of swinging around in some sort of agreement with each other. Yeah. But yeah, it is. It's weight class. It's a weird one to come in. Like, I don't think you could just go, all right, we've got 2 new weight classes, lads. Do you know what I mean? It's
Auto Roadrunner said, do you guys think that they gave do you think it's right that they gave Pettis the Ferguson fight? I don't think it's going to be even remotely close. Pettis has no chance. Many other options for Ferguson, right?
What other options? Like, when you
give us some options.
Yeah, like Showtime, Pettis is coming off a win, right? So I just opened up the rankings here because I may have seen that question. So when you look down through it, like, I think the only option really is Kevin Lee, perhaps. Yeah,
that probably makes the most sense, that fight.
Yeah, but he only fought him. He only fought Tony Ferguson for the interim title. So he lost that a fight ago. So he gets a win over Edson Barboza. He gets Tony Ferguson again. Is it too quick of a turnaround? So that's probably my one and only. Yeah, maybe that. Because if you look at like Eddie Alvarez coming off a loss, Chandler called him out for his next fight in Bellator. So that looks like, I don't think there's smoke without fire there. You know, Gaethje only fought last weekend. So coming off a win. When you look down the rest of it, like Poirier is already fighting Diaz, so you've the only other top 10 guys available is Rajan Alayaquinta, who's coming off a loss, and James Vick, who's coming off a loss. So realistically, like looking at the top 10, Pettis is ranked 8. This is must say is topology, but Pettis is coming off 8. Like I think you know, Tony Ferguson continue fighting, not coming off an injury. I agree with it that Pettis has absolutely no chance coming in against Tony Ferguson.
See, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Coming off a knee injury, and coming off the injury he had, you know, Pettis has been active. Do you know what I mean? He has been active. So I will be interested to see what type of, you know, the win over Chiesa, fine, whatever. Like he lost to Miller, but like, to Dustin Poirier. But like he's been active enough. He almost had that title fight against Khabib. That almost happened. Do you know what I mean? So you're talking about a guy who almost stepped up on short notice to take on Khabib. So realistically, I don't have that much. I was surprised when I seen it, but it was more when I looked into the rankings. I don't have that much of an issue with it because top 10, the only other guy is Kevin Lee, and they just fought, and he just beat Kevin Lee. So
I agree with that. Like, who else is there for him to fight? And even from Tony Ferguson's perspective, if you look at that fight, if you think Tony Ferguson is a big favourite in that, which I'd assume he is, and I would favour him for sure. But like Tony Ferguson would be coming in saying, okay, I'm a big favourite, I'm coming back from injury. And Pettis is a big name. Pettis isn't a small name. Like, if you're taking that top 10...
He was on a box of Weedos, for God's sake.
He was on a box of Weedos. But if you look at the top 10 in that division, and Ferguson has a pick, I think he likes the Pettis fight because of the name that Pettis still has. Like, and it's probably an easier fight than a lot of other guys. Like Justin Gaethje, I know Gaethje was matched at the time, but like, you don't want to fight Justin Gaethje on your way back from injury. So I think he can come back as well. He was the interim champion, and he comes back if he beats Pettis. If he beats Pettis, he go, I'm the interim champion, and I beat a former champion. So it's probably like he's looking at himself here for fights. Like Khabib Conor's going to happen. Doesn't matter who wins that fight for this conversation. Tony Ferguson is putting himself in the best possible position to get a crack at the next champion. And by fighting Pettis and beating Pettis, if he does, that's, I think, the bigger thing. Because unless Khabib absolutely destroys Conor and Dustin Poirier beats Diaz, you could argue Poirier getting Khabib, right? But if things happen differently, Ferguson, you know, a big win over Pettis here, that could put him as the lead runner to get the next title shot. So for me, it's a great fight for Pettis. I think he's getting Tony Ferguson at a great time, coming off an injury as well. And I'm not saying that's coming into the reason why Pettis is taking the fight. Like, Ferguson's a wild man. He's an absolute wild man in his techniques. He leaves himself open for insane counters and stuff like that. Pettis' striking is absolutely phenomenal. He's excellent off his back, Pettis, as well, with submissions. Sometimes he can get caught, but in the scrambles, anything can happen. You can see, like, he just beat Pettis. Pettis' last win, Chiesa, was like an arm triangle. Was it an arm triangle? Was it? I think it was a triangle.
It was. I can't remember. Fuck, wasn't it an arm?
It was a submission anyway.
Yeah, it was so. Yeah, my point is, Chiesa is known as a ground fighter, and Pettis tapped him out.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's a great fight for both fighters, and makes sense, and I can see why both of them would sign it, because it'll really, if Pettis was to beat Ferguson, he's just beaten the interim champion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, my argument as well last week when this was announced was that Ferguson will stand with Pettis, and Pettis has talked about wanting people to stand with him. Ferguson will go for takedowns as well, but I mean, Ferguson is going to stand with him enough for Pettis at least to have a chance. So that's why I don't think it's, you know, this crazy, ridiculous mismatch, is because Pettis is going to be in his element, and he's clearly probably the more technical striker. Ferguson's obviously a wild bastard, like he'll just do mad shit. But like, he's going to have a chance. It's not going to be like somebody coming in who's an NCAA, you know, Division 1 wrestler who's going to take him down and outposition him. Ferguson isn't going to do that. If he takes him down, Ferguson is going to be looking for submissions, which opens it up for Pettis as well.
Couple of comments there as well, which I agree with. Grey hair auto road runner saying, I understand good points, but I'd love the rematch. He's not healthy. Also, Alex Hernandez is a beast, and now Dan Hooker is looking awesome, and I think many options. Like, they're outside of the top 10, and I'm not saying it shouldn't happen, but like, I think if Tony Ferguson was announced against, let's say, Hernandez, it'd be seen as they're giving him an outsider guy, a dangerous young guy. Or even if it was Hooker, they'd be like, Hooker I think is currently like 15th, 16th in the rankings, so it'd be like, they're giving him I'm not saying it'd be an easy fight, but I'd say if that match was made, you'd get people giving out that, Jesus, Sergio Pettis is coming off, or Anthony Pettis is coming off a win. Why isn't he getting it? You know what I mean? So,
and it makes way more sense for Ferguson, I think. I don't think Ferguson wants any of those guys, like, because they are talented, and maybe they are worse matchups for him. You know, you have to give the fighter who, he just come off that injury. He was an interim champion. I suppose he's going to be looking for a decent fight as well. A few people think that Pettis has no chance in it, though.
It's insane. I don't get. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying what I'm saying is factual, and everyone.
Who would you pick though? You would pick Ferguson, right? Like straight away. Like
the injury is a man. If Ferguson wasn't injured, yeah. But like, I just like Tony Ferguson. It's a weird one, because I remember Carl used to go on about Ferguson all the time. Like, man, I just think against the higher guys, he leaves himself vulnerable. And like, Pettis is such an elite striker that if he keeps it there, I don't think he will. I think he'll do some sort of crazy roll into a takedown or something, being Tony Ferguson. But I'd pick Ferguson in the fight.
Yeah.
If we were doing picks right now, I'd say Tony Ferguson. But I'm not underestimating Anthony Pettis. I think it'd be foolish to do that. Like, if you look at the catalogue of victories and how he's won, even when you go back to Benson Henderson, when he beat Benson was considered at the time unbeatable, and you know how good he was, and he was the next big guy, and he was going to be a champion for so long. And Pettis beat him, and beat him well 2 times, and then obviously we had the Showtime kick as well. So
and as well, like, after the last fight, we are talking about Pettis because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Showtime is back." I'm not on that bandwagon now. I don't think he's the same Anthony Pettis that he used to be, but it's not a fight that really is out of the possibility for him to win. I don't think, especially because he's coming off injury. Again, if it was Tony Ferguson on that crazy run that he had and he didn't get that injury, Tony Ferguson all day. But I think he has a shot here. What else is there here? What other questions do we have? Pettis just seems like a sacrificial lamb. The other guys seem competitive 100%. That was about Dan Hooker and Alex Hernandez, who, them two are beasts as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If Ryan Mulligan, if Conor or Khabib drop out, new UFC 229 main event is Ferguson versus Electrical Cord. Or at 2. Most anticipated rematch in combat sports. Yeah, that was a crazy... That's a crazy one. What do you think happens, though? Because I spoke about this last week with Jason. What happens if Khabib or Conor falls out? Does Conor take that replacement fight, who probably is going to be Kevin Lee, it seems like? Does he take it? Because Woodley has just come out and said, I'm not taking Kamaru Usman. I'm training for Darren Till. I'm training for a completely different type of guy. And I completely get that. I was talking to Jason last week, and Jason thinks, if Khabib falls out, Conor's taking anybody. But then if you look at, I know Conor's a different type of guy, but when you look at what happened with Conor and Nate, that has to be in Conor's mind, saying, man, I took that fight on short notice and lost that one. I still think he probably will, because that's the type of guy he is. He probably will take any fight. But it's a weird one. It's a weird one at the top level when you have a guy, or you have this matchup and you're building up, you're promoting it, and then it falls out and you say, let's just throw anybody in, or let's just get a replacement. There's your main event. I just find it weird. It wouldn't happen in boxing.
First of all, just to Ryan Mulligan talking about the electrical cord, you could tell that the electrical cord fight's at 55 because he finished Ferguson, but he only got a takedown on Daniel Cormier. So he's not big enough. He's not big enough for the light heavyweights or heavyweights. Does Conor take another fight? No, I don't think so, because Khabib holds the belt. Conor doesn't want a plastic interim belt and go visiting American Marines pretending you're a champion when you're not a champion, or go to the presidential house and sit with and pretend you're a champion when you're not a champion. He's interested in, that's Kobe Covington just got he is interested in fighting Khabib, number 1, because of everything that happened, and going for that title shot, number 2. If Conor was to take on Kevin Lee, and I think to your point about Woodley, I think Kevin Lee obviously is better striking than Khabib, but he's similar style. He's just a heavy grappler as well. So it's not as big as a jump for Woodley dropping tail to fight Usman. That's night and day, chalk and cheese. You know what I mean? It's while there's some similarities between Khabib and Kevin Lee. I'm not saying they're the same, but there's similarities in your training that you do, wrestling and stuff. But I don't think Conor would take Kevin Lee if he dropped. Now, Conor probably fucking would, you know yourself. But I think his management would be screaming no, because
I agree with that one.
Khabib is the fight. It's the fight that has to happen with everything that's happened. He's going in on Khabib's dad. He's going in on his mate. Slapping a Chechen for a Dagestan man and all. You know what I mean? It's Conor's mental warfare has started. It's getting pretty political. But I don't see him fighting anybody else except Khabib.
There's a comment there by Otto Rodener, and like, this is a common thing that happens in MMA, and it's something that I kind of I was on this kind of same side of the argument a few years ago. 100%. I can't believe he said he would not fight Usman. Unbelievable. So that was about Tyron Woodley, and like when I was talking about this last week, like I get it. I completely get it.
100%.
He's the champion. He's going in there to fight a guy who he's signed a contract to fight. And even if you're told there's a possibility that you're going to have to fight Usman on short notice, technically you can argue it's not short notice because you're being told ahead of time. But you're in a very difficult situation when you have to train for two different styles of fighter. And I just think that it's a bit too much to ask, unless he's been told, if this happens, you're getting an X amount of money as a bonus. And then that's a different story. He can kind of negotiate that. But just to tell him and say, okay, you're signing this contract, and by the way, if your opponent falls out, you're fighting this guy. And if you don't fight this guy, Dana White is going to go out into the media and say that you're avoiding this guy. I think it's very unfair on the fighter. I think it's very, very unfair.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like, same with you, like when fights fall through, like this is the thing about the great story about Conor when he was due to fight Aldo the first time, wasn't it? And they came in and Conor was asleep and they woke him up to tell him, you know, he's out, Chad Mendes is in. You go, doesn't matter who it is, I'll fight the lot.
That's admirable.
Like that story is now, you know what I mean, legacy in MMA, and like a lot of fighters have done that. But when you look at, especially now, the marketability, and I know like Woodley is not a light fighter. People constantly give out about him. I don't think you can question his ability in fighting. I just think he is very smart in, he realizes and Daniel Cormier done the same thing. Remember, they gave him back the belt after Jon Jones popped, and he said, I didn't want to turn it down because walking to the octagon with a belt strapped around you is a lot extra more money. Cash. So I think Tyron Woodley is very smart business-wise. He understands the game in that sense. And I just think it'd be very different if he was training, fighting Darren Till, and Darren Till pulled out injured and Wonder Boy stepped up. Do you know what I mean? He might go, yeah, fuck it, I'll fight Wonder Boy. Do you know what I mean? Because he's a striker, you know what I mean? He's a stand-up striker. While you're fighting Usman, it's a completely different fight. So I think, you know, especially how many days out are we now? We're less than 2 weeks out. We're like 12 days out.
Sure.
Like if something was to happen now, I think 12 days notice for your champion who has defended his belt, can't think off the top of my head many times. Does he give that up to just take on, like, and let's be honest, Usman is that, like, if I was fighting in the game, if I was playing UFC on bleeding Xbox or whatever, and someone pulled out and you were training, doing all your stupid training program to fight one fighter, and then all of a sudden you were fighting a completely different style fighter, you'd want a full camp. So this isn't video games, this is real life, and I don't think Tyron Woodley should be giving out about, or fans moaning at him for saying, oh, he won't take the fight. I just think it's poor form if the UFC were to slam him saying he's dodging him. He's certainly not dodging him. I honestly don't think any of these, like a champion, and this whole he's dodging him. I don't think any fighter in the business is afraid of any other fighter in the business, especially if you're the champion. You're not afraid of anyone. So it's just a matter of he wants the correct preparation time, and I don't think that should be seen as a sin.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I get people's perspectives, and I can see some people think, as I said, well, he knows in advance. But I think it's fine if he agrees to that originally. When he signs the contract and he agrees to that and he's getting something from that, training for two different people, perfectly fine. And it would be bad if he said after he signed that contract where he said that he's going to fight the other guy if Darren Till falls out, then that's a different story. But just telling him that, well, there's a possibility your opponent's going to fall out, you're going to fight this guy that you haven't been putting your mind completely on. I just think it's a bit unfair. Apparently the Till Open workout is live now and he looks leaner. So I have my computer set up and hopefully I can do this. We can actually have a look at it. And
just seeing here, Henry Ford is saying that Till and McGregor get special treatment. I can understand that, what he's saying, how he means it. I think I remember when we had Cody Stamen on the show and he was saying, like, us Americans, we don't get the support that, Irish guys or UK guys do because there's so many American fighters. While, like, McGregor has a huge Irish push. Obviously, their nation literally shuts down when Conor's fighting. And it's the same in the UK now, getting behind Darren Till. Do you know what I mean? Like, Darren Till, he has a lot of people behind him, cheering him on and getting behind him. So, in a sense, the marketing, the promotion towards them makes sense because there's so many people involved and intrigued in it. And like, if you look at McGregor has now gone worldwide in, Jesus Christ, you only have to look at his Instagram. Like, go onto any Instagram Conor McGregor puts up. We could put up a picture of a pair of trainers, runners, sneakers, whatever you want to call them, and it'll have like 1 million likes. Like, so he's just, anything he does, it's huge interest. So obviously, like, GSP, like, if GSP got special treatment, you go back to Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell got special treatment.
All the big fighters get special treatment. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Max Holloway. This is courtesy of MMAfighting.com. It's hard to see. He has a t-shirt on. And he does look leaner in the face, though. Doesn't look as.
Yeah.
Definitely looks leaner in the face. I'll give you that.
Well, I was looking at him, like, he was doing an interview there a couple of weeks out as well, and he certainly is. He looks much different. Like, I don't think the weight's going to be an issue for Darren Till.
I don't think in this one.
Like, me and you, Rob, we've been lucky enough to speak to Darren a good few times, but we were in his company as well. Like, we sat with him, done a face-to-face with him, and, like, man, geez, MMA fighting has issues with people watching. Look, 634 only watching the biggest MMA website in the world. Yeah, look, he does look a lot. Like, looking at him there, what's on my screen now is probably delayed, but it's sitting down on the bag, he does look a lot leaner. But, like, my point is that when we were with him, like, it's not a facade. This whole, the way he thinks, his mental mind frame, it's not a facade. He genuinely believes he is the best in the world, and he does everything to get to that point, and he's going to showcase it in September against Woodley. So, to the extent of him missing weight, I think we need to drop that. If he misses weight, come back and he can jeer me now. I've said it now. On the 28th of August, Darren, at 14 minutes past 8, Darren Till will not miss weight versus Tyron Woodley.
Jesus, putting your neck out on the line. Before we move on to a few more questions, there's more there, and we have loads to talk about before we'll go for another about half an hour or so. But before we move on to those, we go for more than half an hour. What time do we start at? Start at half
7, yeah.
Yeah, we'll go for a bit more. Like this video and give it a share. We want to see that MMA fighting video, 600 viewers. We'll beat that. Come on, lads. Throw it on Reddit. Throw it on ShareDog. Throw it everywhere, and we'll beat that. Come on. One more about Woodley and his decision not to fight Usman, because I think this is an interesting thought and something that I kind of agree with. M Crossify, I understand Woodley's decision. No, that's not the one. Completely wrong. It's a seismic shock. I agree with Woodley's approach. He's doing everything on his end, showing up, making weight, and putting on a good show. In the end, it's on his own. He's on his own in the cage, which I agree with that one.
You have to forgive me, I was reading something else. Say it again, sorry.
Basically said that he agrees with Woodley's approach. Woodley's doing everything on his end. He's showing up, making weight, and putting on a good show. Also, there was another comment above Rafael Schaefer, the Brazilian one. He says, I think some people might have missed that he said Woodley he would still fight Till even if Till missed weight. So, like, he is showing up to fight the guy that he's there to fight,
Again, I'm nothing wrong with that. Again, it's going to be the Till weight thing. People are making too big of an issue with this. It was, remember, Khabib with the whole tiramisu shit and all. Like, something seriously happened to Khabib as well when he went to hospital that time. There was something there, be it too much of a weight cut, whatever it was, whatever the issues. These guys are not going to. Darren Till, the biggest fight of his career, is going to step on the scales and it's going to read 170.
Yeah. Somebody asked, I'm going to check it there. I'm just going to line it up because if anyone hasn't seen it, we'll give you a little taste of it for about a minute. While we're sitting here, but somebody asked about the Darren Till BT Sports promo. It was Rafael Schaefer asked about the BT Sports promo that Darren Till did. If you haven't seen this yet, check it out. I'm going to play it for a minute and won't play the whole thing. Hopefully this doesn't get pulled by BT. But it's an incredible promo. You watched it today. What was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. It's what I just spoke about with Henry Ford. Henry's clearly not a Darren Till fan. That's fine. If you don't like the guy, you don't like the guy. That's fine. I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you differently. I'm a fan of him. But when I get with the whole ad is Darren Till is from Liverpool. This is what Liverpool is. And yeah, it's quite a passionate video. Promoting a fighter that's from Liverpool in the UK, and it's done to get the crowd riled up. He literally has a city and a nation behind him. So yeah, I thought it's an excellent piece. And again, it brings back to Cody Stamen, when Cody Stamen was saying about, American fighters don't get the push because they're all from certain parts of America or whatever, and the whole nation doesn't get behind them. One that jumps out for me as well is Jason Knight. Jason Knight gets a huge support from Mississippi, and when you go Mississippi mean, but when you look at Jason Knight's fights, there's a huge attendance for him from people from Mississippi. So I'm sort of bringing it that way, and it's when we were interviewing Yancy Medeiros, he was saying it's like that in Hawaii. You know what I mean? All the Hawaiians get behind their fighters. You know what I mean? And they sort of have that, but the states lack that. They don't have that. Like, they don't have, for example, like Tyron Woodley. He's a champion. Like, he's an American. Why the fuck aren't all of America getting behind their champion? They're all giving out about, he's not taking fights, he's not doing that. Do you know what I mean? It's probably just a smaller nation thing that we don't have. Like, there's not that many UK fighters in the UFC. There's not that many Irish fighters in the UFC. So when they're there, the nations get behind them and their cities get behind them. So I thought the ad or the promo is brilliant. Taylor only shared a picture the other day of a billboard with him on it right outside his grandfather's house. Do you know what I mean?
It's the right way, isn't it? It's the right way, as you said. Like, they're showing his roots, because that's the one thing that fighters outside of the United States kind of have. Maybe not Brazil as much anymore. Like, Brazil used to have they still have a country behind them, but there's so many of them now that it's kind of difficult. But outside, like especially Ireland, so in Europe basically, like Irish fighters, UK fighters, they always have that kind of grassroots thing where people follow them to fights. And even the likes in boxing, the Ricky Hatton and stuff.
Remember, Ricky Hatton was huge, but remember when they were trying to get UFC and MMA into New York, who was leading the charge? It was Chris Weidman, a New Yorker. You know what I mean? So like that card, obviously, it was Rockhold beat him that night, was it? Or was it Yoel Romero? I can't remember who beat him that night. Was it Rockhold or Yoel? Can't remember. New York. Anyway, they really, they got the whole New York thing going. You know what I mean? So, UFC needs some mad Scottish fighters. There are Danny Henry, Jojo Calderwood. There's a few Scottish fighters in the UFC. Stevie Ray. Does he still get contact?
He has a fight lined up. It was just announced.
Yeah, so there's three Scottish fighters. Bravehearts.
Yeah. Rafael Schaefer, gotta say, the technical advances on this show the last couple of episodes, hats off, Roberto.
It's purely because I'm back and I'm directing them, telling them to get stuff sorted. You know what I mean? We can't be having this shoddy, looking at Rob's kitchen, looking at a bedroom wall. You know what I mean? We need some graphics.
Somebody said that to me. Were you on that episode when someone was like, "You need to get a better backdrop, mate. It looks like you're in your mom's kitchen or something." So what I tried to do today, you can't even see it. I put a couple of books. I put Jack Slack's book and Mike Tyson's most recent book behind me, and I'm sitting right in front of it.
That's Mrs. Palin loves getting a bit of MMA in as she's cooking up a stew.
But yeah, thanks, Raphael.
Henry Ford, man. Henry, you have to be trolling the chat. Some of the stuff you're saying. Jojo trains in Canada now. She's Canadian. Irish Joe Duffy, I still think is Irish. Donegal, man. He trains in Canada. But hey, look, it is what it is.
Yeah. He also said, yeah, Americans dominate the sport, so it's not a big deal. To be fair to him, that is kind of true. You know, they have so many people.
It's like Brazilians as well. Like, if you look at Brazilians, until they get to a certain stage, the whole of Brazil then sort of dies behind them. Do you know what I mean? There's so many fighters that it's hard to get. But like, can you imagine if Ireland had like 30 fighters in the UFC?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Like, you even noticed that, like, when we had Paddy, Cahill, Ash, Neil Seary, Conor, Joe Duffy. Do you know what I mean?
I was going to say Joe Dolan.
No, when we Joe Duffy, and they'd be fighting, and like when Conor would be fighting, like Facebook and Twitter would be, and like all the press would be just Conor McGregor. Then the next week Neil Seary's fighting, and you wouldn't see a fucking thing. Like you realise there's a bloke from Finglas fighting this weekend, yeah? That's every weekend, to be fair.
Yeah, that's it. Crossify said, it's crazy because Jamaica has a few fighters in the UFC, but no support from country nor promos to the country. Yeah, like I don't know what the MMA landscape is like in Jamaica. Do they have a TV deal?
All about the bobsleighing over there. All about the bobsleighing.
What a movie. I don't know what that says. I see you at the boozer. Got it. I think Valentina is gonna kill that other girl. That's the sentiment going around now, isn't it? That Montano has no chance versus Valentina. Are you in agreement with that?
I gave her a saucy breakdown. I thought there's no point breaking this down. Do you know what I mean? Because it's Valentina's gonna do what she wants.
Yeah, I think so too. Master Bates, lovely, said, build a wall, nice kitchen. Thanks, mate. Yeah. Does Ireland have an army? Henry Ford.
Yeah. We do indeed. Because once we go to war, once one goes to war, we all go to war.
Yeah.
We're the peacekeepers of the world, our army.
One thing I wanted to talk about, and it's in the title of the show, and I don't even think I said it at the top of the show because I'm trying to multitask and I'm trying to lead the advancements in this show, technically, is the UFC 229 main card. Apparently, the main card is set. An image was released on the UFC card this weekend. I'm going to throw it up now in a second. And some people are on one side of the fence, other people are on the other side of the fence. I want to get your thoughts on it now, but I also want to get, more importantly, the fans' thoughts on it. And there's 26 people who will beat 3,000 in the next 10 minutes. I want to get their thoughts on it. But did you see the card? It should be on the screen now if you haven't seen it. And what's your thoughts on the main card as a whole?
I'm going to be on delay, so wait for YouTube. But I do have my own version of the card here. So what I'm seeing is the opener is Waterson Herrick, is it? The
opener is Waterson Herrick. You have Derek Lewis versus Alexander Volkov. You have Owen St. Preux against Dominic Reyes. Then you have Ferguson versus Pettis. And then you have Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Conor McGregor. And that's a good idea doing that because there is people who only listen to this show. So well done.
Yeah. Very good.
Very good.
Cards, very good. Yes. Bravo. It's I think there's good fights further down the card as well. Like Sean O'Malley, I'm surprised he didn't make the main card.
Apparently he requested to be the main event at the prelims, which is smart.
All right, yeah. Great, still going, eh? Didn't know that. But yeah, it's a good, look, the main talking points are obviously Khabib, Conor, Ferguson's return, see how he looks, excellent. Derek Lewis, that's a tough fight, you know what I mean? And Derek Lewis is going to want to put on a show after.
What's your impression of Derek Lewis?
Going deep, April, going deep. Do you know what? If you don't follow Derek Lewis, turn this off right now and go and subscribe to Derek Lewis. Hit follow. It's the best follow you'll ever do. Him and Tyson Fury. But Derek Lewis, man, that's a good fight. I was saying Peru, Peru was in that. He is completely in that gatekeeper realm, isn't he? He's fighting a guy. is what, his third UFC fight. So that's 100% gatekeeper right there. Rob, you've gone to your little profile picture. I don't know what happened to
Yeah, I just turned it off because you were lagging, so I thought that might help.
Okay, but yeah, a big win over Pedro last time out for Owen St. Peru, so he'll look to keep going. But yeah, it's a good main card. I'd say it's top heavy with your co-main main event, but like interesting fights further down with Sean O'Malley. What do you think of it? I'm
kind of on the same as you, like kind of like like, and that's being greedy because the two top fights are really good. Pettis and Ferguson is a good fight. It's not an amazing fight, but you know the prospect of seeing Ferguson coming back is great. But aside from that, like the Derek Lewis fight and Volkov fight, good fight, you know, good heavyweight fight, you know, it is what it is. Michelle Warris and Felice Herrig, you know, it's a decent fight, and OSP versus Dominic Reyes, decent fight. What my fear is, and you know, I don't want to jinx the card, is that what happens if Ferguson, or what happens if Conor and Khabib falls out?
As in who gets promoted to the main event?
Yeah, Ferguson Pettis.
Why are you so negative, Robert?
I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying.
Why you can't just look at the card and say this is what it is?
Okay, we'll judge it on that. It's a good card. It's not the best card of the year. All eyes are on the main event.
Look,
it's a top heavy one.
Yeah, the card's gonna sell because Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not gonna sell. But do you feel like you could have got something else in there, just some other, you know, good fight?
Well, who's being active? Do you know what I mean? Or who's available to not fight? Do you know what I mean? This is the problem. Is that
do you know what?
You might argue you could have got like Joanna turn around back on, maybe get her pushing.
Yeah. What I would like is if
to stack the card.
Yeah, they don't need to stack the card. But what I would like is if they put Gaethje and Kevin Lee on the card now, because I know Gaethje called out Kevin Lee. I think that would be excellent if you had Kevin Lee, Gaethje, Ferguson, Pettis, and Khabib, Conor. That's a cracker. 3 fights.
Yeah, it's good. Just say a couple are saying about Artem.
Yeah.
Artem, no, he's the 26th of October or something, isn't he?
Yeah, Artem Lobov is on the card afterwards, is it? The following card?
Yeah. I think it's a week or two after, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. I thought they would have put him on this one. Like it made complete sense. Now, I said that, and then I was thinking, oh, maybe actually Conor and Artem don't want to be on the same card. Maybe they want to be on separate cards so they can, you know, concentrate on the fights. Because I know Artem's a big training partner for Conor, so maybe he doesn't want to be in training camp to help Conor while training to have a fight as well. If you get me.
Yeah, true.
Probably makes sense.
Henry's going in on us here. What are you going to do when Darren and Conor get smoked? Break it down. Talk about it like we do every fight, Henry. That's what we do. We talk about fights as much as, you know, we're talking about Darren Till and Conor McGregor a lot today. I think you're allowed to sort of enjoy watching certain people fight, but if they lose, that's the game we're in. You know, you break it down, you see why they're in or why they lost or what happened, and you talk about it. You know,
when the fights were announced, my pick still is Khabib Nurmagomedov. So you know, it might change in the way.
I'll still go to bed that night and go sleep. So at
6:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Otto Roadrunner said, I can't believe OSP is the underdog. Reyes is about to find out what a real 205er feels like. Awesome fight for sure. So he really likes that fight. Yeah, OSP is the underdog. Interesting.
That's strange, considering he's so experienced. You know what I mean? He's fought, like, you know, you can argue he's fought the best. You know, Jon Jones, he took Jon Jones the distance. So, yeah, surprised that he's the underdog. As much as I was just sort of saying surprised that fight, and he's a gatekeeper. You know, I agree. Reyes will find out what a big 205er feels like, so he's very experienced in there that way.
Yeah. Master Bates says the Russians are interfering. First Hillary, and now you guys. You were lagging a little bit. That's what he's talking about. That's hilarious. Raphael Schaefer. Honestly, for the main card, it's a great card. I don't need to stack it, and having that in mind, it's surprisingly good. Yeah, like, it is a great card. I'm not saying it's not a great card, but if it stays together like that and nothing falls out, like if Tony Ferguson Pettis falls out and then they have to promote something else, again, it's weakening it even more. But again, it is the top heavy card. Just once that fight stays there, once Khabib and Conor stays there, I'm happy. But you know, it's not the best card of all time. You know, it's a bit underwhelming as you go down the card, but like it's still, you know, a phenomenal card.
When you look at the I don't know if it's still on the screen because I'm on a delay, but when you look at the imaging, for anyone who's listening and not watching, like apart from Dominic Reyes, it's all top 10 contenders fighting each other. So do you know what I mean? You can't argue that they're all top 10 bouts, like, so.
Yeah, that's true.
That bad. As much as it mightn't be the big names that you'd like to see in it, I agree with Rafael. You know, it's Conor and Khabib. You know, you could have KSI fighting Logan Paul, and you could have fucking Rio Ferdinand boxing. You could have Freddie Flintoff boxing, and it doesn't matter. It's going to sell. It's Conor Khabib. You know,
it's very true. On that, did anybody watch KSI and Logan Paul fight? Didn't see it.
No.
Let us know how it went.
What do you think about what Brendan Schaub said, though?
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. So basically, Brendan Schaub said that KSI and Logan Paul are better promoters than the UFC because they promoted their fight better than any fight that the UFC have promoted this year. So apparently, the pay-per-view stream of KSI versus Logan Paul, cost a tenner, and it done more than 800,000 buys. So 800,000 people were watching the live stream. It was on YouTube because they are YouTubers.
Yeah.
So that's insane. Obviously, it's a lot less. The price is a lot less. I think it's like $65 or something for a UFC pay-per-view in the States versus a tenner. But still, 800,000 views for, you know, a white-collar boxing match is... You got to give them a bit of credit for that. But what's your thoughts on Brendan Schaub's thoughts?
See, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's because Brendan Schaub was comparing it to CM Punk and stuff like that as well. But like the man Logan Paul and KSI, right? Their YouTube, you know, like you talked about it before, about how watching events has changed. Like you say you really don't watch television as in actual television. You tend to watch everything streaming. So it's changed how people view things. Now these guys are the new generations of, like in my younger days, it would have been like these were the Big Brother stars, if you like. That was the new fad, a new big thing. So now the big thing is these are YouTube superstars. Yeah. So like all these kids that are watching YouTube and follow them know exactly who these two guys are. I only know how your man Logan Paul is because Paul Logan. I only know how your man Logan Paul is because he done that Suicide Forest thing.
Suicide Forest video.
Yeah. And your man KSI used to make FIFA videos. He used to do starting off in Division 10 and working his way up or whatever. So that's all I know about them. But like, if you go onto their subscription, they're absolutely huge subscriptions. Like, so it's like, you know, it's obvious, and for the cheap price of €10, do you know what I mean? These kids are clearly going to tune in. Now I seen some gif of, it wasn't the actual fight, it was a fight on the undercard, and your man starts doing all the Fortnite dancing while boxing. And I was just like, what the actual fuck is going on? Like,
you gotta play as the fans.
Yeah, but look, it is what it is. Two of them are huge YouTubers, so
I'm not
surprised.
I'm not surprised, motherfuckers, as Nate Diaz would say. I'm not surprised at all, but I also think that you can't compare that to the UFC, and I think that's, you know, Henry Ford said, why do you listen to Brendan Schaub? I actually don't listen to Brendan Schaub that much. Not that I hate Brendan Schaub like a lot of people do, but I'm just not a big fan of his show anymore. But he is all over the news about this. So that's why it came up. Gadouche, yeah. But it's not really that surprising because I don't think that it was the fight that was selling. Like, everybody will watch a fight, you know, whatever fight it is, especially if it's free. Now, if you're paying a tenner for it, it's different. But if you have these two guys who are like super, super famous to a certain audience, and you put an event on the platform that they are super, super famous on, I think, of course, it's going to do huge numbers. And it's not that surprising. But I also think you can't really compare them with the UFC because it's a different product. Just because it's a fight, they're not fight promoters. They're self-promoters. They're probably some of the best self-promoters you'll see, especially on YouTube.
It's like, my comparison to be, Rob, would be like, if you got Brad Pitt and fucking, I don't know, Tom Cruise, and you put them in a boxing match, people are going to watch it because they know who they are. So you're selling the personality, not the actual fight.
So it's a different thing. And I also think...
Come here. I want to say as well, before, just credit to Buddy Johnson. Buddy Johnson was the MC on it.
Was he?
Buddy, that works for Bama. I'm not too sure. I think Michael Buffer might have done the main event, I think. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I thought it was Michael Buffer.
But I see Michael is an absolute superstar and diva at the same time. He only rolls out when the cameras start rolling, you know, that sort of way. He comes out for the main event because he's just fucking the superstar that he is. He's earned that. But Buddy was definitely on the prelims, because the one fight that I seen where they called out the result was Buddy Johnson. So well done, Buddy.
Well done, Buddy.
Well done, man.
Henry Ford said Brendan has a hard on for Dana White. You know, you can say it that way, but I do agree that it was basically what he said was a shot at Dana White, because they have a bit of a beef, as they say. And I don't agree with Brendan Schaub saying that if a fight does poorly, that's completely on the promoter. It's not. It's on both. There has to be give and take.
My argument there is like why aren't people that watch KSI or Logan Paul, why aren't they watching this stream? Because they're not fight fans.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're personality fans. You know what I mean? They like them two guys, be it they like giving out about them or whatever it is, and they want to see them, and they hype it and they don't whatever. Like the weigh-in's hilarious. Put a Brett Mint in his mouth. No, I don't know your breast things, but like it was whatever. It's I don't think you can compare them.
No,
you know?
it's apples and oranges.
Like saying, yes, it's like saying a movie is the biggest selling movie of all time, but the play adaptation of it didn't do as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's completely different.
Complete shot by Brendan Schaub to Dana White.
I used to listen to Brendan Schaub and what's his name? Brian
Callan.
What's his name? I used to listen to them all the time, Fighter and the Kid, regularly listen to it. But I just went away from it. I preferred listening to the likes of like my MMA podcast. Listening would be like Joe Rogan when Rogan has somebody on, or I like listening to Chael. Like as much as Chael is just whatever. Like I do like listening to Chael, but Ariel obviously and Luke Thomas would be my main listens as well. But I turn on Below the Belt, Schaub, then he has on. I don't mind them all that much. You know?
I also think that the UFC could do more as well. It's not just like, oh no, the UFC, it's not their fault, but like it's give and take. Let me see here.
What did you think about talking about one buffer onto the next buffer? What did you think about Bruce Buffer and his comments about Nate Diaz needs to bow down to Dana White? And then
I think I understand what he was saying, but I think he said it very poorly. Pretty much. He was basically saying that, you know, Nate, stop being too hateful of Dana, you know, but he probably shouldn't have said bow down. Bow down doesn't sound good ever. Yeah.
Backtracked as well. When obviously he cleared it up, you know.
Yeah. Ryan Mulligan, you guys hear that UFC is trying to get Jon Jones to headline UFC 230. Chael Sonnen and Schaub think that will be Jones versus Gustafsson too.
Yeah, and then I see further on the chat people are saying that Anderson wants it as well.
Against Jones. That'd be a butchering, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. I'm weird with Jon Jones because I went through the stage where I just want them to embrace the bad guy. You know, you are a dickhead, so just be a dickhead. You know what I mean? And people will like you more rather than trying to be, you know, I want to be, you know, a Bible fucking God and I help somebody from
Bible
getting
God.
Yeah, you do drugs, you knock down people, and you just whatever, you know, live it. Do you know what I mean? Own it. Like I'm saying this, but for me, I think Jon Jones is the greatest fighter to ever step into the octagon, and I genuinely believe that. And it's such a waste that we're losing his prime years as a fighter. So the fighter, to me, to watch the fighter, I'd love to see Jon Jones back in there. Absolutely love to see Jon Jones back in there. Gonna have to cut some weight though because he looked big in the last picture. But yeah, I'm a big Jon Jones fighter fan. He just needs to fucking cop on a bit, you know what I mean, and embrace, be the bad guy, you know, and you know, not that much of a bad guy, you know what I mean. Don't be fucking knocking people down. Like
I'd love to see him back. You know, a lot of people have had problems. He's obviously had some very weird problems outside the octagon, but in terms of, you know, what he popped for, there's been so many people that have popped for steroids and loads of other stuff that I find it hard just to take it out on Jon Jones and say, oh, I don't like him because of this. He's still an excellent fighter, probably still one of the best fighters in the world, or probably the best fighter in the world. So, you know, I'd be lying to say that I wouldn't love to see him back in the cage fighting. And Gustafsson versus Jones too. I like it. I'd love to see it.
I like it. That
Makes
was the
sense
weirdest
as well.
fight. That was the fight where I remember standing screaming robbery. Can't believe they robbed Gustafsson. Robbery. Then I decided to rewatch it without commentary, and I was like, oh fuck. I actually think Jones won this one. So it's a weird one. I'd love to see the fight again. That would be a good fight. Probably not straight away back though. I'd like to see the two of them have. Gustafsson hasn't fought in a while. Can't top my head. Can't think of a date that he fought. I know it was injury and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'd like to see. I would like to see them fight, but maybe two of them fight somebody else first and then fight. But yeah, we all know it's going to be. No matter who Jon Jones comes back with, if it is Gustafsson, it is Anderson, they're going to make fucking Cormier. That fight has to happen. Like if he was to get. Oh man, I want to see Cormier Jones again, but I don't know.
Cormier, I think it was today or yesterday, did say that he still plans to go down to 205 again. He said it's going to be tough, but he still plans to do and defend his title one more time. It'd be great to see him do Jones again. I think a lot of people are a bit turned off by that fight just because of what happened in the first two. I still have interest in it, but I would love to see Jones versus Gustafsson too. I think that's a fight that really should happen at some point. But Tarzay, what's your take on? Apparently, Max Holloway will be defending his title at UFC 231 against Brian Ortega. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's the fight. That's the one fight that I feel robbed of in the last while. It was a fight that I had said ages ago that I think the only challenge for Max Holloway in featherweight is Brian Ortega, and I was really looking forward to the fight. Like I was so built up. Like I felt like I lost somebody close to me. Like you know what I mean? When that fight fell through, you were deviled. Like, but yeah, great fight. I just hope that Holloway is obviously. I just hope that Holloway is fully healthy, and you know, obviously I'm sure he has to be, but you know, I just I hope everything's all right with Max Holloway. That's been my main concern there with that. When is 230? Is there a date? What's the date?
231. I think that is UFC 231 is December 8th.
Okay, yeah, so still a long way away. That's fine.
A few months away.
I'd like to see, Holloway. He looks grand. Watching him on Instagram and all, everything he's putting out on social media. Yeah, he looks fine. He looks healthy. He looks whatever. But you know, it seems to be when he's getting into fight week and cutting weight and everything. That's where implications start coming into play, and as well that be his mental mindset coming into that as well. His mental. He's going to have to be strong mentally coming in, you know, because it could be in the back of his mind that, oh, what if this happens again? What if this happens again? So that's going to be, you know, that'd be the interest. But yeah, man, what a fight. What a fucking
amazing
fight. Like, I don't think there's a bigger fight right now in the UFC except Khabib Conor than Holloway and Ortega. And then super fight with the winner against the winner. Well, if the winner was Holloway and the winner was McGregor, rematch the fuck
I'd love to see Holloway versus Khabib as well. That fight was supposed to happen. I got really excited for that in the couple of hours that we had thinking about it. Everybody in the chat, who wins that fight, Max Holloway or Ortega? I'd be interested to see who people are going with on that. Be here for a few more minutes, so get your questions in before we leave. Henry Ford said wrong, GSP is the GOAT, so that was in regards to me saying Jones is probably the best fighter in the world. Can't really argue that too much. Yeah, it's that Brendan Dorman in disguise.
Yeah.
No, I can't really argue with that too much. I wouldn't argue that GSP isn't. I think he might be as well, but you know, one of them probably. Here, Master Bates said, who would win in a fight between the two of you? Noel, what height are you?
6'4".
I'm 5'10", just about.
And I'm 225 pounds.
And I'm about 165.
So speed is on Rob's side. But I would
Power
be like butter. I'd be like Butterbean.
So
make your own decisions.
Yeah, make a decision.
Break it down.
Master Bates said, Believe You Me is my favorite MMA podcast. That's Michael Bisping's one, isn't it?
Yeah, I like Bisping. Yeah.
Do you know what? I've never really listened to that from start to finish, but I always look at the clips because they put out clips, which is something that we need to start doing.
I was meant to be on it a while back.
Were you?
Believe You Me. Yeah.
What happened?
Just wasn't on it. I was talking with Bisping's coach, Daz, and he was saying we was chatting with Bisping, texting. I was in Cork doing a show, and he was texting him. He was like, "Oh yeah, get him on." Whatever I was saying about our podcast. So Michael was meant to come on to obviously Fight Talk, and never happened. And he said, "Yeah," and we get him on air, so we'll have a chat. I was like, "Yeah, awesome." Never happened though.
We'll have to make that happen. Everybody tweet Michael Bisping to make that happen. Tag. What's your handle? Oh, there it is. There. NOK1980.
Oh, don't do that. Leave Michael. Don't annoy him.
Yeah. Leave Michael alone. Don't annoy him.
He'd be like, who?
Yeah, who's that guy?
Yeah.
Ryan Mulligan said, obviously, Fight Talk is mine. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah, I love Ryan Mulligan. Congratulations. T-shirt on the way to you. Now we've none left, sorry.
M. Crossify said, it will forever have an asterisk by it because of the Holloway issues, especially if he gets KO'd. Do you think that if Ortega does win, that it'll have an asterisk? Yeah. But you were picking Ortega, weren't you?
I was picking Ortega, yeah.
Yeah. So I assume you're going to pick him against a potentially weakened Max Holloway, people could say, maybe.
Yeah.
Cool. Bring it back to UFC 229. Do you guys think this will definitely be the biggest UFC pay-per-view in terms of history, in terms of pay-per-view buys in history? Personally, I'm not completely buying it, I guess he's saying. Buying it?
Yeah, it's a weird one. See, I think the fight itself, but the one thing that I don't think anyone should underestimate, and I don't think anyone is the McGregor effect. Like, everybody knows who Conor McGregor is. Like, he's the most global superstar in MMA. So 100% that alone, Conor McGregor could be fighting CM Punk and it will do huge sales. That would do huge sales actually because of WWE crap. But yeah, I think it's going to be up there. Will it break it? I don't know. They're saying it's the second highest ticket demand of all time. I was reading something briefly today.
It's going to be the second highest gate, yeah.
Yeah, so...
But the highest gate was New York, which I think the ticket prices are higher, I think.
Yeah, potentially I think it could be as well because of the whole country thing. You know, it's not just it's you're gonna have huge Russian interest and you're gonna obviously have huge Irish, UK, and then just the McGregor effect. So I can see it doing it. I think if it doesn't fall short, it could be what we were talking about, not needing to stack the card.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest of all time? Was it UFC 100 still or the GSP?
It was
McGregor
Nate McGregor 2, I think.
Yeah, like I think this is a bigger fight than Nate McGregor, 100%. Like, so yeah, I could see it. I could see it happening. But with the UFC at the minute, you only have to look at their numbers now. Their numbers now are fucking awful.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could see it. You could see it like not doing it, but at the same time, you should do. Like the big return of Conor McGregor, hasn't fought in 2 years. He's fighting what many consider the baddest man in the planet, the 55. So yeah, it should do it.
Yeah. So apparently, McGregor Diaz 2 done 1.6 million buys. So it has to beat that one. I think it will. There was a discussion today on Pete Carroll's new podcast. I didn't actually get to listen to the whole thing, but I listened to like the first 10-15 minutes of it. It's very good.
Yeah.
But they had a discussion about UFC 229 and the hype around it leading into it, and does it feel like the biggest fight in UFC history? And they were kind of arguing that no, it doesn't. I think that's a little bit too soon, just because it was only announced recently. I think it'll ramp up more as it gets closer to it, and we'll start to feel that. But what do you think? Does it feel like it's lacking something or something like that?
Do I feel what the card is lacking?
Like the hype. I mean, it doesn't. They kind of argue that it doesn't feel as big as some of the previous huge fights. But my take personally is that it's still a little bit too early. Yeah,
well, like I think in some ways silence is deafening. I think the UFC at the moment are trying to build Woodley Till right now. I'd say once Woodley Till is over, it's going to go full steam ahead.
All hands on deck.
Yeah, it really is. So I'd imagine it's gonna pick. And he was saying they're not gonna do a world tour, but they'll do some sort of coverage. So yeah, expect it. At the minute, right now, I think you have both fighters. Just McGregor's putting up Instagram and stuff like that, but you're not seeing much else of him. It's head down work time now. These are the biggest fight of both these guys' lives. So I wouldn't expect them to be, off parade and doing silly things right now. So. I think after the Till Woodley fight, expect full blown. Here we go.
Yeah, I don't think it needs a world tour. For me, I don't think it needs a world tour. I think it's overkill. I think all you need is that video of the dolly, unfortunately. But there was a question there. Any thoughts on the Al Hassan Price fight on the next card? Should be a great fight. I have no idea which way I'll go. Yeah, that's an excellent fight. Nico Price looked amazing in his last fight against Randy Brown. And Al Hassan has them 2 wins over Hamasi, and he beat him up both times. He looks like a really powerful guy. Similar fighters, kind of in a way, like they're kind of dynamic strikers and a bit wild. So I think that's going to be an excellent fight. That's one of the better fights on the card, aside from obviously the big fights.
Down the card,
it's a really
damn hammer fist from the bottom. Talking about being able to finish a fight from anywhere. So it's very rare you see the rematch, isn't it, Hamasi? That was the one that was stopped, wasn't it, when it shouldn't have been stopped, and then they rematched and he probably
they rematched it, and then he beat him up again.
Yeah, so it's a good fight. Of course, the big win over Charlie Ward as well previously. So
M Crossify said you guys might be the preview for Woodley Till. I'm not sure what that means. You want to elaborate on that?
Could be kicking us just gone. I'm watching nothing else except obviously Fight Talk for my preview of
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Wait for it. Will Brendan Dorman be breaking down UFC 228 with y'all? He should be. Yeah,
yes.
He will be.
Yeah.
He will be.
The reason why we're here and not this swabby, like, so if this is your first time looking at us, we're normally in like a studio. It's just I'm away on family time, family holiday, as in just time at home. So I'm not in studio, so we're just doing a live. But Brendan normally joins us with work and stuff like that. Obviously, we would love this to be our career and make money from this, but it's not. So we all work and we film in our spare time. So this is our spare time right now. Unfortunately for Brendan, it's not his spare time right now. But when we're back in studio, we record on a Monday. The show comes out on a Tuesday, and Brendan is with us 90% of the time.
Yeah,
every time.
Speaking of that, we'll go back to a couple more questions before we go. We'll go to 9 o'clock. Our time, and then we'll leave it at that. But did you see Tito Ortiz's quote?
Tito.
So this is what he said in relation to his training schedule. He said, I train actually 6 days a week. 5 days a week I'll train 3 days a week. One of those days I'll train 2 days a week. So 6 days a week I'll be training. What? What are you talking about, Tito Ortiz?
You see, Tito Ortiz was the original mental warfare practitioner. So what was happening there was he was confusing his opponent by his opponent going, I'm going to have to step up my training here, because Tito was training 6 days a week, 5 times a week, 6 days a week. So he was exhausting his opponent both mentally and physically, and that's why Tito was at the top for so long.
I agree. But Ken Shamrock almost beat him into the living death, so that almost finished it up from there.
That's true.
Somebody he cleared it up. Where is it gone? M Crossify cleared up. I was talking about you guys' height if you all fought. So yeah, if we fought, it'd be like Wonderboy versus Till. I think there's probably a bigger height disparity between me and Noel than Till and Wonderboy. I'm pretty sure.
Definitely. Yeah. We're probably 3 weight classes outside of each other right now.
Yeah, maybe 4. So, no.
Yeah. Unless you're cutting, you're not fucking saying anything about me.
Buka Perez. Do most Irish people like Conor, or are they kind of ashamed of him because of his antics?
Oh, that's a great question.
That's a good question.
My missus has always disliked Conor McGregor. That's fact. My wife can't stand Conor, his confidence, the way he goes on. Just can't stand him. Thinks it's fake, thinks it's all show, thinks it's whatever. Never likes him. Her husband, me, always watch Conor from his Cage Warriors days, whatever, coming up. So there is that diversity, though, with love and hate. There's people that love him and there's people that hate him, but both tune in because they both want to see him either win or lose. So he's got that.
What would you say is, like, if he was a president, what would you say his approval rating would be? Like everybody likes to watch him, like he's entertaining, but like as an approval rating in the country, what would you say?
55, 45 maybe.
Yeah, I'd imagine it'd be like that as well. Yeah. And like,
but like
younger
but the
people
thing about
would
him
be
is
a lot
though
higher.
is but you see, the thing with Conor is, right, something happens, like the New York thing happens, right, that happens, and everyone's, oh my God, it's everywhere. And I was one of them people going, this is fucking ridiculous. And then eventually goes away, and other news happens, and, you know, you put news into perspective, and you go, well, what really happened? You know what I mean? Not a lot. Do you know what I mean? But not saying, I'm not excusing it by any means, it was disgraceful. But it goes away, and then he fights, and now he hasn't fought since, but he fights, and you forget about it, because the reason I like Conor McGregor is because what he does inside them cage walls. That's why I am a fan of Conor McGregor, and that's why I appreciate his skill set and what he does. Just so happens with the Irishness, he has that Irish banter in him. The whole 60G babies when he knocked out Marcus Brimage and stuff like that. His whole attitude that brought everybody in. But like everything Conor McGregor does now is under a microscope, so you know everything will be picked apart. And when you're doing things like jumping cages, pushing referees, doing them type of things, it's not. But then you see his mental warfare, like the stuff he done with Khabib's dad and the Chesney and Dagestan thing. That's brilliant. And his Instagram, like, he's a very proud Irishman. Like, I don't know if you've seen the Instagram post where he's driving around the car. First he's showing off his runners or something, or his watch, but he happens to be driving by the Shelbourne.
Trainers.
Yes, but he gives a history lesson on the Shelbourne about how the Irish had to fight the British together, and you know what I mean. You're there going like, so he's a very well-educated man. He's a supreme businessman. Like Brand McGregor, love him or hate him, is fucking one of the biggest brands around. Like, so you know, love him or hate him, you know, people tune in to watch him. It's like I remember. Show me age here again. Howard Stern, and there was a thing about Howard Stern about people who like listening to him. Listen to him on average for like 8 minutes or something, and I go, okay, what about people that dislike him? They go, oh well, yeah, that's like 65%, and they, oh okay, and what's the listen time? And they listen for an average time 12 minutes, and they're like, what? And like, why? And say, because they want to hear what he says next. Yeah, and that's exactly like Conor McGregor. Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. There is a lot of people that don't like him, but there's a huge percentage of the population, I think, that want to watch him, that are interested in him, whether they don't like him or do like him. Any news on Gunnar Nelson? I'd like to see him fight either Masvidal or Barberena. I'd love to see a Masvidal fight. Barberena seems a little bit too early for Barberena, or at least he needs one or two more to get to Gunnar Nelson. Although, you know, Gunnar's coming off a few losses, so who knows. But I'd love to see the Masvidal fight.
Yeah, Masvidal's fun. I'd like to see Masvidal fight anyone. I don't care.
Any news on Gunnar?
No, I haven't seen. I know he was again Instagram. She swear I just hang around on Instagram. He had a thing up about him. He was on a pull-up bar saying almost ready or something like that. Something along the lines. Yeah.
Nick Ferreira said, "Stick at it, lads. Quality chat, professional presentation. You'll make money sooner or later."
Nick, do you want to come on board and pay us for this? No problem.
Are you saying are you offering us a job? You know.
Last thing before we go, we were talking about it on the last chat that I was doing, and people were saying about the Brave work. I was being confirmed for Brave Combat Federation 16, so which is in Abu Dhabi. I'll be in the commentary team for that show. So it's a night of champions. It's their almost like International Fight Week. It's their big show. I'm in commentary for Brave Combat Federation 16, Abu Dhabi.
That's brilliant. Congratulations, man. And what else? Who will you be in the booth with? Do you know?
Not 100% sure. It could be Keurig Jenis, it could be Cyrus Fees, or it could be Robin Black.
Great stuff. Bit of flim flam going on there.
We're all part of the commentary team. Or Yusuf, of course, will be there. Yusuf Nasser will be there. He's the matchmaker of Brave. So they sort of have, they have different voices, and that's what they're going for. That it's not the same show every time. I'm delighted back on it. So happy days.
That's great stuff. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for asking all the questions. They were all great. We'll be back in studio next week. The show will be released on Tuesday. We're hoping to have a guest or two. Maybe Daniel Mulvaheady might make a return. Brendan Dorman might make a return. And we'll see who else we can sort out. I might be back this week. I'm looking at Friday potentially for another live chat. So join me then if it is then. You can check us out on Twitter and Facebook. And that's where I'm going to let people know where it is. But again,
yeah,
thanks.
our handle's not there. So if you don't follow us, we're at talk_fight on Twitter. We have our handles there, but go and follow it. Go subscribe. Check out posts, previous shows, previous interviews, stuff like that.
Check out the Darren Till interview that we did recently. That's a good one. And that'll get you ready for next weekend.
Happy days, and talk to you soon. And if not, it'll be next week in studio. It won't be live, but thanks for tuning in, lads. Pleasure interacting with some of the questions. Apologies if we missed any of them, we didn't get to them. If you do, write a strongly worded email to robertpalin@rob. All right, peace.